If you're a man over 60 and you still eat fruit for breakfast thinking it's a healthy choice, stop. Because some of those fruits, the very ones you've trusted for decades, might be quietly destroying your ability to get and maintain strong erections. That's right. Certain morning fruits are not just unhelpful, they are killing your erections. And the worst part is, no one's warning you. No nutrition label tells you this. No doctor brings it up during your checkup. But today, I will. I'm Dr. Thomas. For over 30 years, I've worked as a urologist and men's health specialist, helping thousands of men over 60 reclaim their vitality. And one pattern I've seen again and again, healthy men making unhealthy decisions first thing in the morning without realizing it. Because when it comes to your morning routine, what you eat isn't just about digestion. It's about hormones, circulation, and long-term sexual function. That bowl of fruit, that glass of juice, that banana in your smoothie, they may be doing more harm than good. Let me be blunt. If you're still eating certain fruits on an empty stomach, especially as a man over 60, you're setting yourself up for weaker blood flow, suppressed testosterone, and fading erection quality over time. How? It's all about blood sugar spikes and insulin responses. As we age, our insulin sensitivity declines. That means the same sugary fruit that energized you at 25 can now trigger hormonal chaos at 65, lowering testosterone, increasing inflammation, and constricting the very blood vessels your erections depend on. This video isn't about fear, it's about facts. And the fact is, men over 60 must pay closer attention to how food impacts their sexual health. Because once you understand the science behind it, you can make smarter choices that protect your energy, your confidence, and your manhood. So today I'm revealing the 7 fruits you need to stop eating for breakfast, starting immediately. We'll break down exactly how each one sabotages your erections and what to eat instead to restore your strength naturally. Avoid eating these 7 fruits, especially if you care about your performance, your health, and your future. And before we dive into the list, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for real, science-backed health advice made specifically for men over 60. I promise what you'll learn here could change how you start your mornings and how you finish your nights. All right, let's begin. Fruit 1, bananas, especially when overripe. Let's begin with one of the most trusted and misunderstood breakfast fruits of all time, especially among men over 60, and that's the banana. It's everywhere, easy to grab, and praised for being rich in potassium and low in fat. But what many people don't realize, including countless patients I've worked with, is that bananas, particularly when they're overripe, could be silently working against your sexual health. Here's what I've observed in over 3 decades of clinical practice. Men over 60 would come to me with concerns about declining performance, low energy, or weaker morning erections. Many of them were doing everything right on the surface, and yet the pattern kept repeating. I'd ask them what they were eating for breakfast, and a large number would say something like, "Just a banana and coffee, doc." Simple, healthy, harmless. Right? Not exactly. As bananas ripen, their starches break down into simple sugars. The riper the banana, the higher its glycemic impact. When you eat one first thing in the morning, especially on an empty stomach, your blood sugar spikes rapidly. That spike forces your body to release insulin. And while insulin plays an essential role in metabolism, it also has a downside, especially for men over 60. Elevated insulin levels suppress testosterone production, impair nitric oxide release, and increase inflammation in blood vessels, including the tiny arteries responsible for supporting firm, lasting erections. Over time, this hormonal interference begins to chip away at your performance. Not with a bang, but with a slow, frustrating fade. You may notice you are not waking up as strong. You may feel mentally foggy or less motivated. And instead of blaming the innocent-looking fruit, most men assume it's just part of aging. But what if it's not age? What if it's breakfast? So what should you do? I'm not saying you can never eat bananas again, but be strategic. Avoid eating them first thing in the morning or on an empty stomach. If you still enjoy them, have them after a protein-rich meal and pair them with a healthy fat like almond butter or Greek yogurt. This slows the sugar absorption and protects your hormonal balance. When you treat fruit like fuel instead of comfort food, you take back control of your energy and your erections. If you're finding this helpful so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the rest of this critical list. And if you've got questions or your own story about how food has impacted your health, drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. Now let's move on to a fruit that's small, sweet, and deceptively dangerous, especially when eaten by men over 60. Fruit 2, grapes. Now let's talk about a fruit that seems innocent enough. It's small, it's sweet, and it's often seen as the perfect little snack, especially straight out of the fridge. Grapes. For years, patients of mine, especially men over 60, would tell me they pop a handful of grapes in the morning, thinking they're doing their bodies a favor. After all, they're just fruit, right? No fat, no processing, nothing artificial. But when it comes to sexual health, especially for men in their later years, grapes are far more complicated than they look. You see, grapes are incredibly high in natural sugar. In fact, for their size, they pack more fructose than most people realize. And because they're made up mostly of water and sugar, they digest very quickly, especially when eaten alone or on an empty stomach. When that happens, here's what your body does. The sugar hits your bloodstream almost immediately. Your pancreas responds with a rush of insulin. And that surge of insulin, once again, begins a chain reaction that most men over 60 can't afford to repeat day after day. The insulin spike blunts testosterone. It constricts blood vessels. It throws off nitric oxide signaling. All three are essential for strong, consistent erections. And while the impact may not be immediate, the slow erosion of performance becomes harder and harder to ignore. Many men come to me complaining of dull mornings, low desire, or weaker response to intimacy. They never suspect the grapes. But when we start cleaning up their breakfast routine, removing fruits like grapes from that critical early window, their strength starts to return, sometimes faster than they imagined. Another hidden danger with grapes is portion control. Unlike a banana or an orange, grapes are easy to overeat. A handful can turn into 20 or 30 grapes without even thinking about it. That's a huge sugar load for the first meal of the day, especially for a man whose metabolic flexibility isn't what it used to be. So what's the right move? If you enjoy grapes, have them sparingly and never as a standalone breakfast. Eat them after a balanced meal that includes protein and fat. Better yet, save them for later in the day when your blood sugar is more stable. That way, you enjoy the taste without compromising your hormonal health. And remember, just because something is small and natural doesn't mean it's harmless, especially not for men over 60 working to protect their vitality. If this is opening your eyes, go ahead and subscribe now so you won't miss what's coming next. And if you've ever noticed a difference in how you feel after certain fruits, share it in the comments. Your story might help another man make a better decision tomorrow morning. Let's keep going, because the next item isn't a fruit you chew, it's one you drink. And for many men, it's hiding in plain sight. Fruit 3, orange juice. Let's talk about what might be the most misleading item in the entire breakfast lineup, orange juice. It's bright, it's refreshing, and for decades it's been marketed as the ideal way to start your morning. Packed with vitamin C, and they say, great for your immune system. But if you're a man over 60 and still drinking orange juice first thing in the morning, you need to understand what's really going on beneath the surface. Orange juice is not a whole fruit, it's fruit sugar in liquid form. And unlike eating an actual orange, which contains fiber to slow digestion, orange juice delivers a high concentration sugar hit directly into your bloodstream. That's a problem. Just one glass of orange juice can contain 20 to 30 grams of sugar. That's more than some sodas. And when your stomach is empty in the morning, that sugar enters your system at lightning speed. Your body responds with a spike in insulin, and as we've already discussed, elevated insulin levels in men over 60 are a recipe for hormonal disruption. Here's what that looks like. Testosterone gets suppressed, blood vessels begin to tighten, nitric oxide production, vital for healthy erections, plummets. You might feel a temporary burst of energy, but it's quickly followed by a crash. Your focus dips, your motivation fades, and your sexual response weakens without any clear warning sign. Many of my patients used to swear by their morning glass of orange juice. But once we removed it from their routine, something incredible happened. Their blood sugar stabilized, their energy levels evened out, And in more than a few cases, their erectile function improved without any medication at all. That's the power of making the right adjustment. Now, if you truly enjoy citrus in the morning, you don't have to eliminate it completely. Eat a whole orange instead. The fiber will slow sugar absorption, reduce insulin spikes, and help preserve your hormonal balance. Or better yet, start your day with water and wait until after a protein-rich breakfast before introducing any fruit at all. Orange juice might look like health in a glass, but for men over 60 trying to preserve strength and sexual performance, it's often just another obstacle in disguise. If this advice is helping you rethink your mornings, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more real answers, not marketing slogans. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you noticed a difference when you cut back on juice or sugary drinks? Share your experience. It might just help someone else connect the dots. Now let's move on to a fruit that's considered a summertime favorite, even a so-called superfood for blood flow. But if you're not careful, it could be doing the exact opposite. Let's talk about watermelon. Fruit 4, watermelon. Watermelon is one of those fruits that most people associate with hydration, health, and even improved circulation. It's light, it's refreshing, and it's often praised as a superfood for sexual function. In fact, many men over 60 are told that watermelon is good for blood flow because it contains an amino acid called citrulline, which the body converts into arginine, a key ingredient in the production of nitric oxide. And while that part is true, there's a hidden side to watermelon that very few men understand. As someone who has spent decades working with men over 60, I've seen the confusion firsthand. Patients come to me thinking they're doing everything right by eating a big bowl of watermelon in the morning. But what they don't realize is that even something beneficial can become harmful if used at the wrong time and in the wrong way. Here's why. Watermelon is over 90% water, but it also contains a surprisingly high amount of natural sugars. When eaten first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, it digests very rapidly, flooding your bloodstream with sugar. That sugar spike triggers a familiar cascade, a burst of insulin, a dip in testosterone, and a disruption in nitric oxide regulation. And that's where the real damage begins. For men over 60, that morning spike can send the body into a hormonal spiral. The nitric oxide you're hoping to support ends up getting blunted by the very sugar you just consumed. You may think you're helping your circulation, but instead, you're narrowing the blood vessels that support your erections. Even worse, because watermelon digests so quickly, it doesn't keep you full. This leads to mid-morning crashes and cravings for more sugar, creating a cycle that puts your endocrine system under constant pressure. So does this mean watermelon is off limits? Not necessarily, but timing and context are everything. If you enjoy watermelon, have a few slices after lunch, not first thing in the morning. And always pair it with a meal that includes protein or healthy fat. That combination slows the digestive impact and helps your body handle the sugar more efficiently. Remember, just because something has a health reputation doesn't mean it's working in your favor at every moment, especially not when your hormonal system is more vulnerable to spikes and crashes. If this helped you see watermelon in a new light, go ahead and click subscribe so you never miss a science-backed truth like this. And if you've ever noticed a difference after eating watermelon or want to share how your breakfast has changed, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your experience. Next up, we'll talk about a tropical fruit that's sweet, nostalgic, and surprisingly harmful to your testosterone. Let's talk about mangoes. Fruit 5, mangoes. Now let's take a closer look at one of the sweetest fruits out there, both in taste and in memory. Mangoes. For many people, especially men over 60, mangoes are more than just fruit. They're a reminder of summer, of childhood, of a simpler time. But nostalgia aside, mangoes could be silently working against your testosterone, your metabolism, and yes, your erections. Here's what most people don't know. Mangoes are extremely high in fructose, a type of natural sugar that is processed almost exclusively by the liver. When you're young and metabolically flexible, your body can handle that load. But as we age, especially for men over 60, whose liver function may already be under strain and whose insulin sensitivity has decreased, that same fructose becomes a much bigger problem. When you consume a mango first thing in the morning, the high sugar content rapidly spikes your blood glucose. That sets off the insulin response. And as we've discussed, insulin does more than manage sugar. It lowers testosterone, promotes inflammation, and interferes with blood flow. At the same time, the liver begins converting that fructose into fat, contributing to the development of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is directly linked to decreased hormone production. I've had patients who were eating mangoes every day as part of their clean diet and wondering why their energy was crashing mid-morning or why their drive was fading. The answer was right there on their plate. And the problem isn't just in the sugar. Mangoes digest quickly, leaving you hungry again shortly after. That opens the door to a cycle of cravings and blood sugar fluctuations, which over time take a toll on your hormonal health and performance. So does that mean you should never eat mangoes again? Not necessarily, but you need to be smart about when and how you eat them. If you really enjoy mangoes, treat them like a dessert. Eat them only after a balanced lunch or dinner, and always combine them with protein or healthy fat to slow down the absorption. Never eat them first thing in the morning, especially not by themselves. Timing is everything when it comes to fruit and hormone health. If you found this information useful, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you stay updated on the latest science-backed insights I share here. And if you've had personal experiences with mangoes affecting your energy or focus, or if you've got a question, don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Let's keep this conversation going. Now get ready, because the next fruit is one that looks tropical and healthy on the surface, but it could be even worse for your testosterone. Let's talk about pineapple. Fruit 6, pineapple. Pineapple is one of those fruits that feels almost too vibrant to be harmful. It's tropical, juicy, and often associated with digestion and wellness. You'll hear that it contains bromelain, an enzyme that can reduce inflammation and aid absorption. But here's what most men over 60 are never told, and what I've seen far too often in my years of clinical practice. Pineapple can be deceptively damaging to your hormonal health when eaten the wrong way. The first issue is sugar. Pineapple has one of the highest natural sugar contents among common fruits. Just 1 cup of diced pineapple can carry more than 16 grams of sugar. Now imagine starting your morning with that, possibly with an empty stomach. What happens next is predictable but problematic. Your blood sugar rises fast, insulin follows. And as we've seen in other fruits on this list, that insulin spike doesn't just manage glucose. It starts to shut down testosterone production, disrupt nitric oxide release, and tighten blood vessels. For men over 60, these small hormonal disruptions accumulate over time. You might not feel it instantly, but one day you'll notice you're not waking up with the same energy, the same drive, or the same level of performance. Another hidden problem with pineapple is its low fiber content. Without fiber to slow digestion, the sugar hits harder and faster. That combination makes pineapple one of the worst fruits to consume early in the day, particularly for men who are already struggling with blood sugar control or declining testosterone. And just like with mangoes, pineapple digests quickly and leaves you hungry. That sets the stage for more cravings, more snacking, and more insulin cycles that wear down your body's hormonal stability. So what's the solution? If you truly enjoy pineapple, you don't have to give it up, but you do need to change your approach. Skip it in the morning, never eat it on an empty stomach. Instead, have a few pieces after lunch or dinner, and always alongside a source of protein or fat. That will slow the sugar absorption and help protect your hormonal balance. What looks healthy isn't always harmless, especially for men over 60 who are trying to preserve their sexual function and overall vitality. If this surprised you and helped you rethink a fruit you thought was safe, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the final item on our list. And if you've ever had questions about pineapple or noticed a difference in how it affects your body, drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Someone else might be wondering the same thing. Up next is the last fruit on this list, and it may be the most misleading of all. It doesn't even look harmful. It's small, dried, and marketed as a clean, healthy snack. But for your erections, it could be one of the worst choices you make. Let's talk about dried fruits. Fruit 7. Dried fruits, including raisins, dates, and apricots. Let's finish this list with a group of fruits that appear clean, simple, and even virtuous, especially when you see them in a health food aisle. I'm talking about dried fruits like raisins, dates, and apricots. They're often marketed as high in fiber, packed with antioxidants, and perfect for snacking. But for men over 60, they may quietly be doing more harm than good. Here's the issue most people overlook. When fruit is dried, the water is removed, but the sugar remains. What you're left with is a compact, concentrated dose of fructose. That handful of raisins or medjool dates might seem small, but it can contain just as much sugar as a candy bar, and it delivers it just as fast if eaten alone. And just like with all the other fruits we've covered, that sugar triggers a rapid insulin response. As insulin spikes, testosterone drops, nitric oxide gets disrupted, and blood vessels begin to constrict. For men over 60, this cycle becomes even more significant because your body no longer rebounds from these spikes the way it used to. The worst part is, dried fruits feel like a smart choice. Many men toss them into oatmeal or snack on them with their coffee, thinking they're being disciplined. I've seen this pattern countless times in my practice. Patients who were trying to eat clean were unknowingly flooding their bodies with sugar every morning, and they couldn't figure out why their energy, mood, or sexual performance kept declining. Another hidden challenge with dried fruit is portion size. Because they're small, it's easy to overeat them. You might think you're having a light snack, but in reality, you're consuming the sugar equivalent of 2 or 3 servings of fresh fruit in just a few bites. So what should you do? If you enjoy dried fruit, the key is moderation and timing. Never eat them on an empty stomach and never as part of your breakfast. Save them for later in the day and always pair them with protein or healthy fats to buffer the sugar load. A small portion after a balanced meal is much safer than sprinkling them into your cereal or grabbing a handful mid-morning. Remember, it's not just what you eat, it's how and when you eat it that makes all the difference. If this helped you look at dried fruit differently, be sure to tap that subscribe button so you don't miss the next phase of this journey. And if you've had any experience changing your diet and seeing results, I'd love to hear your story. Leave a comment below and help inspire other men who are ready to take back their health. Next, we're going to shift gears and talk about what you should eat instead. There are fruits and foods that do the opposite, supporting testosterone, blood flow, and long-term vitality. Let's explore those next. What to eat instead, better breakfast options for men over 60. Now that we've covered the 7 fruits you should avoid eating for breakfast, the question becomes, what should you eat instead? Because skipping fruit altogether is not the answer. Your body still needs nutrients, antioxidants, and energy to start the day. The key is choosing foods that support your hormones instead of disrupting them, especially if you're a man over 60 working to preserve energy and sexual vitality. Let's start with the foundation, stable blood sugar. The first goal of your morning meal should be to prevent insulin spikes. That means favoring protein, healthy fats, and fiber, while limiting fast-digesting sugars. One of my go-to recommendations for men over 60 is eggs. Whole eggs are packed with protein, healthy cholesterol, and important nutrients like choline and vitamin D, all of which play a role in hormone production. Contrary to outdated myths, eating eggs does not increase heart disease risk when consumed as part of a balanced diet. In fact, dietary cholesterol is necessary for your body to make testosterone. Pair your eggs with a healthy fat like avocado. Avocados provide monounsaturated fats that help stabilize blood sugar and reduce inflammation. They also contain potassium and magnesium, 2 minerals essential for vascular health and circulation. Another smart option is plain Greek yogurt without added sugar. It's rich in protein, calcium, and probiotics. And when combined with a small portion of low-sugar berries like blueberries or raspberries, it gives you a satisfying, nutrient-dense breakfast without the hormonal crash. Berries, in moderation, are among the few fruits I recommend early in the day because they are low glycemic and high in antioxidants. If you prefer something quick and portable, consider a handful of raw nuts like almonds or walnuts paired with a boiled egg or a slice of cheese. It's simple, balanced, and keeps you full for hours. And don't forget your first drink of the day. Skip the fruit juice. Start with water, plain or with a slice of lemon. If you drink coffee, have it after food, not before. Caffeine on an empty stomach can trigger cortisol spikes, which may negatively impact hormone levels over time. The bottom line is this: a healthy breakfast for men over 60 is not about cutting calories or chasing trends. It's about protecting your testosterone, stabilizing your energy, and supporting the blood flow your body needs to feel alive and responsive. If this gave you a clearer idea of how to upgrade your mornings, click subscribe now and join this growing community of men committed to aging with strength. And if you've already made changes to your breakfast and seen results, share it in the comments. Your small victory could be someone else's first step. Now let's wrap everything up with the key takeaway that ties it all together. Final reflections. Food is power. Use it wisely. If you've made it this far, I want to say something that most men rarely hear, especially after 60. You're not broken. You're not past your prime. And your health is not in decline simply because of age. More often than not, it's about information, about small decisions repeated day after day without realizing their impact. The 7 fruits we've discussed today are not dangerous because they're unnatural. They're dangerous because they're misunderstood. For years, we've been told that fruit is always good, that sweet equals healthy, and that starting your morning with sugar from nature is better than sugar from a box. But for men over 60, that message doesn't hold up anymore. Your body has changed, your hormones are more sensitive, your circulation is more fragile, and your mornings have become more important than ever. What you eat in that first hour shapes your energy, your focus, your testosterone levels, and yes, your erections. By avoiding these 7 fruits in the morning and choosing smarter, more balanced options, you give your body the stability it needs to perform like it used to. Maybe not overnight, but sooner than you think. This isn't about restriction, it's about strategy. It's about giving your body what it actually needs instead of what marketing has trained you to crave. So if this video helped you see things differently, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with a friend who might need to hear this. And make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next video. I've got more coming your way, including the best fruits to eat that can actually improve your erections naturally. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate your trust and your willingness to learn. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay strong, and keep choosing the kind of health that lets you feel like you again.